Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Saturday, March 23rd. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 162 days, the game against Michigan in 252 days. We are going to get to football in just a minute, but boy, oh boy, is there a lot of news happening around Ohio State athletics. We're going to get you up to speed with as much of it as we can right now. Let's start with the Ohio State women's hockey team. They beat Clarkson Friday evening 4-1, 3 goals in the span of 5 minutes late in the third period to break a 1-1 tie and end up with a 4-1 win. They advance to the national championship game on Sunday. We will see who they play. I would guess it'll be their arch rival from the WCHA, Wisconsin. Those two teams have found a way to meet up in the postseason quite a bit over the last couple of years. That other semifinal game still happening a little later on Friday night. All right, that's women's hockey. Now let's talk men's basketball. Jake Diebler and his team moving on to the NIT second round. They're going to play Saturday at 7 p.m. at the Shot against Virginia Tech in the second round. You can watch that game on ESPN Plus, or you can go and see it in person. Tickets at ohiostatebuckeyes.com. All right, that's men's basketball. Now let's talk women's basketball. I told you there was a bunch of stuff going on here. Women's basketball opened the NCAA Tournament Friday afternoon at the Shot with an 80-57 win over Maine. Now you got to remember, they lost in their first game in the Big Ten tournament as the top seed there, so that probably cost them a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So coming as a number 2 against number 15 Maine. Started a little slowly. Maine hit their first 4 3-pointers, kept them in the game for the first quarter before the Buckeyes pulled away, really answered the bell in that first round of that big dance. Here's Ohio State head coach Kevin McGuff with his thoughts.
Yeah, it was just good to play a game. I feel like it's been forever since we've played a game, and we've been practicing against each other and our scout team, and so to have another opponent was refreshing. And like I said, I think we look much more like ourselves today than we did in that Maryland game. So I think we handled the time in that loss appropriately, where we watched film, we processed it, and we kind of put it behind us and moved on to this one.
Now, if you've been watching the men's tournament or the women's tournament, you've probably seen some high seeds get upset. You've seen others just barely escape. So I would guess it was probably rather refreshing for Ohio State to just have a nice, comfortable first-round win, have a 2 versus 15 game that kind of looked like a 2 versus 15 game should look. J.C. Shelton for the Buckeyes scored a team-high 19 points. She was a big part of a stifling Buckeye press that forced 22 Maine turnovers. Here's JC's thoughts on the game.
Yeah, it's big for us. I think we've done a good job all season, in the Big Ten regular season especially, of just focusing on the game in front of us and the next game, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So we'll stay and watch this game, and same thing, be prepared and just be focused on our next matchup.
Well, you heard her talking about scouting out that next game. That next game ended up being Duke. They beat Richmond in the first round there, 7th-seeded Duke beating 10th-seed Richmond. So that means Buckeye forward Celeste Taylor will get a chance to face her former team on Sunday when the Buckeyes host Duke in that second round of the NCAA tournament. We are still waiting on a tip-off time as of right now, but check your social media. It'll be out there as soon as they have one. Now, on to football. Let's talk a little bit. We're going to let you hear from Ohio State wide receivers coach Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline talked to us a little earlier in the week about a whole bunch of stuff. I have seen the numbers. I have seen your interest on social media. We are going to start with a question I'm sure everyone wants to hear all about. Jeremiah Smith, true freshman phenom, talked on yesterday's show about the fact that he had broken an Ohio State record for losing his black stripe faster than any player in program history. So, all right, Brian Hartline, what do you like about Jeremiah Smith?
I love the way he lives. I love the way he approaches things. I love the questions he asks. I love the way he makes mistakes and then corrects mistakes. It's very veteran-like. I mean, there's so much ball he has to learn. Like, he literally does things that are good. I'm like, do you know why that worked? He goes, Coach, I have no freaking idea. So, I'm trying to teach him all of that, why it worked. So then, the consistency at which it works just goes through the roof. And so, but I'm very, excited and proud of the conversations we're currently having, and I'm excited for them to keep going.
If you asked Ohio State fans which position groups are recruiting the best right now, you're probably going to hear them talk about the wide receivers and Brian Hartline and the cornerbacks and Tim Walton. So guess what? Those two position groups go up against each other every single day in practice. And when you have really, really talented players playing at a very, very high level, well, sometimes it can get a little chippy. Sometimes it can get a little chirpy back and forth between those two groups. What does Brian Hartline think about that?
Oh, it's great. It's competition's even more awesome. Like the chippiness, the chirping, the fun, it's even heightened because, like you said, I mean, at one point, it wasn't that way. So it's a lot of fun. They win, we win. It's back and forth. It's a heavyweight, fight daily, and it's a lot of fun. And it's pretty cool because when guys do come visit as recruits, they see it, and that's one of the first things they say is the chippiness, the competitiveness is really different. So we're having a lot of fun with it. It's been a fun first 4 days.
Ohio State has lost plenty of players to the transfer portal over the last few years. They've gained a few through the portal as well. Now we're going to talk about someone who they both lost and gained through the transfer portal. That is Bryson Rogers. He left through the transfer portal in December and then decided in January, you know what? I'm going to come back. We're going to come back and take another season as an Ohio State Buckeye. So what did it mean to Brian Hartline to get Bryson Rogers back after it looked like he might be gone?
Yeah, I mean, I think college football is different, and ideologies and understandings and have changed. And I think that, the portal is a variable, and I would say that not him in particular, but I wouldn't say everyone doesn't really know how to handle it properly. You see it currently. I mean, it's a variable that's new. And how to handle it, there's not a transcript on how to handle that variable. So guys just try to do what they think is right. That's all they're really trying to do. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but he was trying to do the same. And, I think at the end of the day, he realized he made the wrong decision. And we connected on it. We talked about it. And, it was a great opportunity to right a wrong. And obviously we're very glad he's here. I've always believed in him. We believe in him. And he believes in himself, and that's part of the just trying to understand what's my path, right? So, but yeah, it's been great. Steps have been made. He's growing, but he's nowhere near where he knows he's capable of being.
Brian Hartline's role on this year's Ohio State team is a little different than the one he held last year. Last year, he was the offensive coordinator, even though he wasn't calling plays. Now, Ohio State has brought in Chip Kelly to call plays and be the offensive coordinator. So, anytime you see your job change and you see a new guy come in, you could have some bad blood there. So what has it been like for Brian Hartline to work alongside Chip Kelly so far?
Oh, I love working with Chip. Chip is, I love talking ball. I love the viewpoints. I love the veteran that he has, And I love all of it. I think that, early on, the biggest impact, feeling perspective, I think in the run game has been awesome, and then, off of the run game, some of the actions or relief throws or all that kind of stuff. I love where it's at. I love working with him, and he's a great person to be around.
And I mentioned earlier exactly how high the level of recruiting has been in both the corner room and the wide receiver room. Tim Walton and Brian Hartline operating at the absolute top of the sport right now. That's a very good thing for Ohio State fans. And it's a good thing for the players on the field as well. Iron sharpens iron. You hear that all the time this time of year. And it certainly seems like both sides of the iron are getting sharpened as the wide receivers and corners go up against each other. So what is it like for Brian Hartline working both with and sort of against Tim Walton?
Yeah, we obviously feed off each other, right? I mean, it really is a team sport, and we can't do it without them, and they can't do it without us, and we can't do it without the quarterback, and we can't do it without the O-line. So the more that can seep into other positions, and we work as a team and operate as a team and identify we're a team, the healthier we are. And we are. We think that, already. But I would say me and Tim have really, met on that, talked about it. Like, we talk about technique, we talk about recruiting, we do all that together. And not on a crazy level, but definitely more than I have in the past. So I love working with OG. I mean, he's awesome. He's got a great perspective. And we definitely feed off each other in practice. And then maybe while building our rooms, we've done the same.
Well, that'll do it for today. We got plenty more coming up this weekend. Men's basketball on Saturday night, women's basketball on Sunday, women's hockey on Sunday. Lots of big-time games, postseason games happening this weekend in Columbus and elsewhere. We'll be covering it all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Lots of stuff to talk about. And, oh, yes, the football stuff, too. Another big week of practice coming up next week. And we'll have the student scrimmage or the student appreciation day on Saturday next week. We will be there for that. Plus interviews during the week. Lots of exciting stuff coming up for you all this week at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We hope to see you there. We would appreciate you checking our site out and checking out perhaps the Huddle Board presented by Jeff Ruby Steakhouse. That's where we talk to you, answer your questions, share some stuff we can't necessarily share here on YouTube and on your podcast platform of choice. Check all that out there. Get access to all of our team coverage, all of our recruiting coverage, all of our X's and O's coverage. That's all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.